Mike and Sharon Barton farm in the Taupo catchment. They have 142 hectares of land, a quarter of which is under riparian planting or conservation. They were the Supreme Award winners for the Waikato region in the Balanced Farm Environment Awards for 2014. As a result of their ongoing commitment to sustainable farming, they've become involved in public discussions around farming and water quality.
We run an all-beef system, and essentially as a result of the cap on nitrogen leaching from our farm, we run our business on the assumption dollars profit per kilogram of nitrogen leach. That drives our thinking, drives our planning, and drives our management systems. Farming on pumice soils is this beautiful country to farm on. Grows grass really well, beautiful wintering country, doesn't pug, but that is also its problem. It's free draining, and therefore in the winter when you've got heavy rain events, little grass growth, and little soil activity to take up the nitrogen, nitrogen leaches with the rainfall past the root zone, and maybe 80 years from now ends up in Lake Taupo. We as farmers have got every stream in the catchment riparian fenced and planted, and it's been that way since 1982. So we thought we were doing the right thing, but science in the last few years has told us that on these free draining soils, it's not so much about runoff, which would be captured and dealt with by riparian planting. It's more an issue of leaching vertically down through the soil profile. In our case, it's got 200 metres before it gets to, vertically downwards before it gets to the lake level. And as I said, 70 to 80 years before it reaches there. But it's a problem. We need to grow our product, our meat, as efficiently and as effectively as possible. The shorter time the animal's on the farm, the lower the lifetime footprint of that animal relative to the lake. We are at the point at the moment where we are an effective business. We're probably growing about 340 kilograms per hectare of carcass weight. So we're right up in the top quintile of beef and lamb's productivity measures. And through our branding efforts, we're getting a premium for that meat. So at the moment, the business is profitable and it works. These animals that we're drenching at the moment are actually Frisian Charolais cross. So they're not a beef cross animal, which is what we've used exclusively to date. The idea behind this is an experiment with a dairy farmer. He's run a Charolais bull over straight Frisian cows. And we want to see whether we can achieve the same meat quality as you would with a straight beef bred animal. It just means we can do more with the same amount of nitrogen or do more while minimising the impact on the lake. Don't know how it'll go. It looks like they'll take slightly longer to finish than a straight beef animal, but again, if I don't have to account for the nitrogen cost of the calf's production, that extra 2 months or so to finish, we might still be in the positive space. When we kill the first lot of animals, we will kill them alongside a line of beef animals, send them to Ag Research abattoir and get the meat quality assessed, and then at the same time send cuts to the chefs that are using our beef and get them to assess it from a commercial point of view. If that works, it's another option for us. We have looked at other classes of livestock, and certainly sheep leach less than beef animals. Deer are intermediate between beef and sheep. Our system is set up for beef, and we believe we can add value to the beef through the processing and the aging and those other things that give us attributes that mean that the beef quality is exceptional. There's a little bit less that you can do around lamb. There's some early work being done by others around lamb finishing and different species to improve the flavour and taste, but we've started with beef. The vision was always to have lamb and venison in the mix in the very long term, but at this stage, trying to work it out for beef is enough of a challenge.
These are beef animals. We've settled really with an Angus Charolais cross, even though you'll see some of these animals here aren't, but the breeder we're working with is now changing a lot of their cattle over, so they'll be using a Charolais bull over an Angus heifer. The reason we're using them is we're finding the Charolais, particularly the hybrid vigour of the Charolais, has been great for growth rates, and the Angus we're finding has been great for the marbling of the cattle. We're now working within the overseer model, and we need to get as many cattle off the farm and finished before the second winter so that there's less leaching happening. We've been running Taupo Beef now for 4 years, and we're finding consumers are becoming a lot more discerning and wanting to know more about what goes into their meat. Years ago, when we went to the Environment Court, we did a lot of economic modelling, and we realised at that stage that in a situation where we can't increase the number of animals on our farm, we needed to get more value back for each animal on the farm. So 4 years ago, we did a trial with 3 of the main restaurants in Taupo. One was the Hilton Hotel and Plateau Restaurant and Bar, and another whole food cafe. It was to see whether or not consumers would pay slightly more for a good quality product which protects water quality, and in this case, Lake Taupo. We found at the end of the 4-month trial, it did exceedingly well. It passed our expectations really, and we found there was a huge demand. The restaurants we worked with wanted us to continue, and some other restaurants in town wanted to come on board. We called ourselves Taupo Beef. There's a logo or a picture of the lake, just because we felt it was about protecting water quality. And the byline was "Growin' Right Here." Growin' Right, it was a bit of a play on words. Some look at it when they first look at it and think it's growing locally, which it is, but it also was growing in the right way environmentally to protect our local environment.
The whole issue of water quality and farming impact on it is something we've all got to start talking about more. The Farm Environment Awards gave us a profile in which to do that. For example, shortly after the awards, we were invited to be the after-dinner speakers at the Forest and Bird annual general meeting. So that was a group who we've not connected with in the past. They were interested in our story, and we were able to connect with them in a way that hadn't been possible before. We've been asked to present to a range of conferences and a range of farmer groups as a result of the award. And we were fortunate enough, I was fortunate enough to be awarded a Queen's Service Medal in last year's birthday honours list. And I take some satisfaction from the fact that that award was for services to farming and the environment, because we've always tried to bridge the gap between farming profitability and a responsible approach to your environmental impact. The reality is, through the government's implementation of the National Policy Statements on Freshwater Management, every catchment in the country is going to face the same issues that we are. They may not be the same nutrients or the same water quality indicators, but they will be limited in terms of what they can do. We're a nitrogen-sensitive water body, but in heavy clay soils, for example, you're talking about phosphorus or sediment or fecal coliforms. So every farm needs to consider this issue, and every community needs to consider the economic impact of capping farm systems in order to achieve the water quality results that they hope for.
This program was made with funding from New Zealand On Air.